What would you do if you had a magic brush that could take a tracked Milky Way sky for a landscape astrophoto and just clean up the pesky blurred edge that is the challenge of tracked Milky Way astro landscape photography? Well, this is how it works. I have a magic brush that I take it and I just wipe it down my edge. Look at none of the stars, they just go right where they are. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. And as easy as that, these difficult trees and edges are gone and clean. I really don't have a magic brush, but it's just my method of getting a clean edge, especially where you have things that protrude up into the sky on tracked images. It's always been the kind of the trick of dealing with trees or ridges or things that protrude up into a tracked sky that gives you the blur. What is on screen here is 3 images tracked with 2 minutes each, so you have 6 minutes of total tracking and 6 minutes where it leaves a blur. Now, the trick to getting them to line up in situations like this where so some people go, say, walk behind this organ pipe cactus. Well, in this case, I walk behind it and I've got more cactus. Really, I would have to hike, a couple miles to get over this or on top of this ridge to get rid of that, to put the sky in the proper position. Well, that's not going to happen at 2 in the morning. That's not going to happen anyway. But it's about collecting the data. And the way I go about it for the sky, when the sky is in the position that I want, let me turn off this. I have 2 layers here. You notice this layer here, the sky, the edge, this is stacked data. This is 15 images stacked using Starry Landscape Stacker. And before stacking, a little bit of Lightroom denoise was added to it because this foreground is rather dark and I'm going to use parts of it. So when the Milky Way is in the position that you want in your composition, that's when you take your stacked data. This is the 15 images, and the stacked and the tracked data are collected using equivalent exposure settings. So this stacked data is 8 seconds, 24 millimeters, ISO 6400, f2.8. So when I went to get my tracked data, it's ISO 800. You don't have to use these exact settings. It's whatever's equivalent, and these 2 settings work out to being equal to each other. ISO 800, f4, and 2 minutes. And that gives in exactly equal exposure. Now, there was some pre-editing, lifting the blacks a little bit, basically making the image a little bit flat. But the processes that were done from one to the next, my pre-color calibration, that is done equally on both images. So when you have the data, or when you're shooting, you shoot your stack. The second the last image is shot for your stack, you click on your tracker and start the tracker, and now your tracker is going to move with the sky. In the case of Northern Hemisphere here, this ground is going to start dropping away from the sky image. The framing is going to be nearly identical, depending on how quickly you get that tracker turned on. So here's the track data. What I've done, after stacking the track data, stacking the stacked short exposure data, brought both images into Photoshop, put the tracked one on top. With the tracked one on top, you go to Edit, Auto Align Layers with both layers selected. That what that does is it puts your star layer right over the top. Now you can see the tracked data. The stars have reduced in size a little bit. It's probably using the f4 versus f2.8. There is a little bit more detail to deal with in that, but notice no difference in tonality. So once those are stacked together, you put a mask on your track layer, grab a brush, with black selected, 100% flow. I like to use a soft edge so it just blends between the stacked and the tracked data, and go through and paint out your blurry edge with your sharp edge. I like to make sure that the center of the brush is over anything that is there, so you have 100% selection, 100% mask going over all the blurred stuff. And like magic, you paint over all of these otherwise difficult areas. Once the bit of edge is done, to see better what I'm doing, to make sure I have 100% coverage, I Alt or Option click the mask, and so you're looking directly on the mask, so you could fill in these little bits of areas that are on there. Let's increase the brush size. I could use a hard brush for this so it doesn't bleed any further up into the tracked data than we require, but if it did, it's not that big of a deal. Our exposures match exactly. There we go. Look how simple and non-accurate that mask is. Here's all these organ pipe cactus that were sticking up there. Let's click back on that. There you have almost all of this is track data, and then stack data right along the edge, right through the trees, all of that. Then I also had some longer exposure data. I don't have a blue hour. I don't have a real long, but what I would do with this typically is, with both of these selected, do the Vulcan Mind Meld, Control, Command, Option, Shift, E, Command, Option, Shift, and E on the Mac, and that gives you your stamp visible layer. And over on this one, I have 3 images that were 2 minutes each at 1600 ISO. Well, the data's a little bit better than just the stacked data, and then I take that sky combined image we just created and drag it over to here, put it in on here, and then basically mask in the foreground from the longer exposure. And once those are blended together, just go ahead and edit that. And that's how I use my magic brush.